Hello, Ramana. Welcome to our session.
Thank you.
I am going to, with your permission, record this session, and I'm checking in to see if you're okay for us to record the session for educational purposes.
Yes.
Thank you for that. What would you like us to discuss today, Ramana, that will be helpful for you?
Okay. So, I am debating about whether I should get my 9-year-old son tested and diagnosed with ADHD. He's showing all of the signs, and he had a bit of a struggle last year in third grade. Not enough to cause him to not do well academically, but as far as his behavior. And so I'm not a big proponent of labeling students because oftentimes we ask of them to do things they're probably not developmentally ready to do. And I suspect that's the case with them. And so there would be benefits if he is diagnosed with ADHD and I bring the paperwork to school. He could be placed on an educational plan that would provide him some accommodations in school to help him succeed. But I'm weary of the label. So I just wanted to just talk to you about it today, just to get some clarity on where I want to go with it.
What I'm hearing in that, Ramana, is need to make a decision as, in one hand, you, as you stated, not proponent of labeling. In another end, you were wondering if you go to that direction, special placement of your son, would that be a beneficial for his growth and development? How accurate is that for you?
That's perfect.
I can appreciate, as a mother specifically for you, must be a challenging situation. In general, when you deal with an unclear decision, what is your normal mechanism in that?
What is my normal mechanism when I am trying to make a decision?
That's correct.
Yes, that's a good question. I typically talk to people who have been in a similar situation, and I have already done that. I usually read about it. I will find a book or a website that is helpful. And I will also just wait and meditate about it and just kind of, I try not to make a rush decision on things like that. So I take my time.
There seems to be a research, incubation, and then coming to a conclusion process for you. What is making this decision different than the other decisions?
What makes it different is that a new school year is beginning, and I have talked to a good friend of mine who will actually be one of his fourth grade teachers. And so I feel that because the school year is beginning, if I am going to do this, if I want him to take advantage of the benefits of being placed on the educational plan, I should do it sooner rather than later. Yet I'm not sure about it that I want to do it. But I feel like the fact that fourth grade is beginning for him and I want him to do well, I should decide where I'm going to go with it.
What I'm getting is that your normal process being challenged with the school year starting, your research, incubation, and coming to conclusion process is cutting short. what's true about that?
You're absolutely right. That makes a difference for me this time, because if it were to be any other decision, I would probably take another couple of years to figure that out. Yeah.
Now we're understanding that what's creating challenge for you is deviation from your normal decision-making process. What will be helpful for us to dive into in today's conversation, Ramana?
What would be helpful is for me to bring to the surface what is more important at this stage in my son's development. Is it that he is officially diagnosed and he gets those accommodations in place, which I will tell you, being a teacher, in him having been in third grade with my teammates last school year, they were already doing those things off the record, because those are things we have to do whether students are labeled or not. But because he's going to a different grade level and then next year he'll go to a different school, I'm just thinking, will those teachers do the same things? And so, to answer your question, I'm sorry, I just want to, like I said, bring to the surface, what is it that my son needs right now? I know it might change later as he gets older, very likely will, but for now, what will be the best approach?
What I'm sensing here is that this seems to be a challenging decision, yet intuitively you already know what's good for your son's development, yet you are doubting what you already decided internally. What do you think about that?
That I am doubting what I already decided internally. Yes, I think I have internally, deep down, decided that I am not going to do it and I'm going to wait on it. I think I gravitate towards that. Yeah.
You mentioned that what will be helpful for us to discuss at the surface level, that what is best for your son, and now we're discovering that you kind of already know what it is. Where would that bring us?
Well, for one, I would like to have the language in my mind as to why I am making this decision to wait. I know that deep down that's what I've decided, but I don't have the words to be able to express the reasoning, and being the kind of person that needs to have the language to explain things to myself and others, because this is a conversation that I need to have with my ex-husband. And so right now, I think that's where I'm struggling. I think I've made up my mind, like you said, but what does that language sound like? What is it? What am I going to sound like when I think about it and when I talk about it, or when I meet with his teachers at the beginning of the year?
If we were to come to a place at the end of our discussion that you figured out what you're going to sound like, you know how to explain things and find a language to express what you decided, how would that work for you?
Well, I think it would set me at ease. I think it would, being the kind of person that I am, that I like to find language for feelings and things, it would make me feel a bit more empowered than what I am now. Because right now I'm fumbling on how to explain this. It's my decision. And so I I want to be a good communicator to his teachers, to his dad, and to him as well, and my son. And so it would help me tremendously. It would, yeah, in essence, it would put me at ease.
You started with the debate about, you labeled it as you were struggling with the decision making. And then you expressed that you wanted to understand that the impact of not making this decision in a way, or making the decision in a way, how is that going to impact your son? Now we are discussing defining a language so that you can explain to others. You also mentioned something that often comes in our session, empowering yourself along the way. What else might be an outcome of your expectation from today?
Well, it would lessen my my possible regret in the future, because if I find the language to explain this well to myself, and believe it, and really know that this is the best choice at this moment for my son, when things change, and if they change in the future, I will know what the next sensible step is to do what needs to be done then. And so, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So then our agenda at hand becomes that you're finding a language that will explain whatever you intuitively know deep down inside to you and others. Once you express yourself freely, your assumption is that it's also going to diminish the possible regrets in the future if the things come to that place at all. At the end of our conversation, how are we going to know that you have the language that you need and you are feeling empowered about your choice?
Because I will have come up with it through the course of our conversation. So I will have some idea, some specific things that I can say, that I can think in reason, as I explain this. Now that I have to explain it to people, it's really mostly for me. And so I will basically have come up with the specific language of that.
When we come up with that language, how will you understand that's exactly what you wanted or close to it?
Because my feelings about it will change. So if right now I started with saying that I was hesitant about this decision, or I didn't know where to go, and then we moved into, yes, I do know what I want to do, but I just want to find the language to reason it. My feelings about it will change. It will not be this negative thing that it now is. It is going to be either neutral or a positive feeling that comes up for me. So I very much in my life, if something doesn't feel right, there is resistance, and I try not to go to those places. So oftentimes I will avoid things that don't feel good. And so I want this to be a positive thing when it comes up, whether it's in a conversation with his teachers or me thinking about the way he's behaving that day. I think that's how I will know.
What is going to indicate for you at the end of our conversation is the shift in feeling, and you know already how to sense in your system.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Ramina, you use the language of empowerment in this particular place for you as you were to express yourself to others that is needed. So if you were to empower yourself as you explain what you decided to others, how will be different than what you're saying right now?
Well, in my mind, it would sound something like it is not a necessity right now to get a diagnosis because he's doing well in school and he's still developing as a child. However, really what would make the biggest difference is to realize that our educational system has changed. And so now we are asking students to do things they are probably too young to do. And so that's why we have had a spike in diagnosis of ADHD and ADD and so on and so forth. And so to just keep that at the forefront of my mind and to always remember that, because that's at the core of me not doing this, because I know that it is a product of what we require students to do. 30 years ago, we didn't have the numbers that we have now with ADHD and ADD. Now we do. And so it isn't that there are more kids now, it's just simply that there's been a shift of what we want students to do. And so thinking about that would be quite powerful for me. And to just know that with time, some things will get better for my son. And if eventually I decide that it is the best thing to do to go ahead and get the diagnosis, then we will do it. But right at this moment, it is not.
I can hear that you already start to shift as you're expressing that. And I am wondering, as you were explaining that decision to me a minute ago, which part of you were really feeling that expression for you?
Well, I think it is the part of me that that is able to see the big picture and not get caught up with the little details of daily life. So I can imagine and picture my son when he's 30 years old, and I know this is only something he's going through. I know there is so much more to life than just our classrooms, and I feel the same for my students. And so the part of me that is making me say that is because I think I am a big picture person.
I recall that from our very first session that you were very much person that once envisioned things, you could actually start putting into implementation. Seems like this is again coming forward for you. What else in that envisioning will help you to find the language and shift your feeling then?
Well, the school year is usually 9 to 10 months. I can always be in contact with his teachers, which we work at the same school. I'm here. So we can always be talking about it if we need to, and adjust as we need to. It's okay to just let things flow instead of wanting to have something done because there's a deadline approaching. I believe that things can still work out even if the school year is about to begin and there is no educational plan in place for him. Through conversations with his teachers and with him at home and working with him at home, which I already do, but it might be different things that we need to work on. I think he can have a quite successful year without the educational plan in place.
What did you just discover right now, Ramana?
That the educational plan is not really a necessity. So that label, the ADHD label, for him to be able to be in that plan is really not a necessity. And I know it deep down because I am a teacher and we all have to do things for our students regardless. And I know his teachers will do that even when he goes to other schools, because that is what teachers do. So it's almost like I am just trusting what I know, which I hadn't been doing, to be honest with you.
So then what's the distinction? Just expressing that you're trusting what you already know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And how empowering is that for you?
Well, it is extremely empowering, and it's also giving those teachers the benefit of the doubt, because it's almost like I was assuming they they wouldn't do any of those things, but now that I'm thinking about it, we all do those things. And I know because my older son had fantastic teachers when he moved to those other schools. So I've already experienced that.
If you were to experience that other teachers that are not doing those things, what will be a supportive approach for you? Course correct.
What I will do is I will, of course, have good communication with those teachers and always extending my support at home. And also, I will probably, you already know this, probably talk to somebody who went through this and go read something about how it is that I can support my son along those lines. But I know that I will figure it out. Like it's not the end of it all. It will be okay.
When we started this conversation, you were pretty much in doubt of your own skills about this decision-making process and in the future. In this moment, I am hearing the self-trust, self-confidence, and knowing your abilities, that even if anything goes bad or in a direction you're not willing to go to, you know how to course correct and you're trusting you with that. What's true about that?
It is very true. And also, I am a big believer in building resiliency in our students. And the way to build resiliency is to sometimes have some bad moments in life and some failures. And so I don't want to overprotect my son and to just have to do well, and to control things that I can't, or I will not go out of my way to try to control those things, because I want him to be a resilient person in his life. And so even if he encounters difficult situations at school or a teacher that is not as supportive, that's all right. He'll be able to get through with it. I will be there to support him. But I think that's another thing that factors into my decision, that I want my children to know that it's all right to just go through patches in your life, because that's the ebb and flow of life. There's no such thing of everything being perfect the way we want it to be. And that's great, because that's what makes life interesting and exciting. And so when I think about, that's a deep, deep belief of mine. And so that is another thing that I really hadn't even thought about, to Jen, until right now.
Mm. What I'm hearing is that also your deeply held value was not recognized in the beginning of our conversation. It's surfacing right now. What is that doing to your finding a language and shifting your feeling about your decision today?
Well, I think I just found another thing, another very specific thing that I can think about and talk about when I have to talk about this. Building resiliency in my son is a big one, and trusting the process, trusting that I can handle this and that it will be okay. Because there have been many moments in my life that I've been through things that I didn't want or were not expected and were not perfect. Yet I got through them, and it's fine. In fact, I'm glad I went through them, because they've taught me so much.
Where are your feelings right now about this decision with all that recognition?
Ah, yes. It's definitely, there's no gray cloud above it anymore. I feel, I feel a relief, almost like, oh, that's why. Okay, so now I know that I can express it now. And to me, that's important. And so there's a big sense of relief, and there isn't that negative feeling I had when we started, or that I've had for the longest, because I've been thinking about this for a while.
You mentioned about the relief and releasing of the negative sensations, and I'm checking to see how far are we from the positive feelings that you wanted to achieve at the end of our conversation?
Well, there's a bit of excitement as well that I have about this, because I I thrive in my life when I do things my way. And so by saying that, I mean that I can sometimes do something that might be different than what other people would do, because my beliefs about it are strong. And I've come to realize that is something that um, others admire about me. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I had to do a 360 report for one of my courses at UTD. And so one of the things that came up was that I am able to live my life the way I see fit, and not necessarily going with the crowd. And so that very much defines me. And so making this decision goes along those lines. And so there's a bit of excitement that I'm able to do this my way.
That is very exciting and empowering as I hear you. What I'm noticing here, that there are a few ways that you really bringing your value system forward. One is protecting and making decisions about your son in a way that you feel what's right for him, and even if that means that is deviating from the societal norms, and you feel passionate about what is correct, and trusting yourself that even if things are not, you know how to correct it. And you also offering an opportunity for you, if that comes along the way for your son, to develop resilience.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And how do you feel about the languaging that you have arrived at this time?
I like it. It very much explains my feelings, my core values, what I am about, and what I want for my son. And so I feel empowered. Empowered would be the word, and excited about this. Whereas I was dreading the fact that well, what I thought was that I needed to make a decision, but I'm not dreading it anymore. I'm okay. I'm actually fine. I'm excited about his new school year. When, if anything comes up through conversations with his teachers, we will figure things out. And what you just said very much explains how I feel.
Beautiful. If anything, what might derail your confidence, if at all?
What might derail my confidence is if he is, if his teachers are not able to connect with him, or to do those things that will help him succeed in school. I know that in fourth grade there are more students per class, so that might be a bit of a challenge. And so I am predicting that can derail my confidence, but at the same time, I know that by speaking with those teachers and just offering my support, it can be a successful year.
So even if a block comes into your way, you know how to overcome it.
I really think so, yes.
Excellent. What else is remaining for us, Ramana, within this agenda we had in our hands?
Well, I feel pretty accomplished.
As always. I can feel it and hear it in your voice, and the language you found feels very inspiring. And as your coach, it's very honoring for me to see that you're choosing to trailblaze a path not only for you, but many other mothers to come and can follow the path you're choosing. What do you think about that?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you for saying that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that is, I realize that we all learn from each other. And oftentimes people will not say it, but we will observe what others do. And if we see something that somebody else is doing that we like, or we think might work for us, we'll try that. And so I think this will not only be a learning experience for me, but I think it will also, like you're saying, be a learning experience for other mothers on my campus.
Yeah, you would be then the person that you often seek to talk to.
Right. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I applaud you, Ramana, for all your wonderful realizations and coming to the freedom of from the negative sensations into a place of freedom and positivity and empowerment. How complete are you feeling at this moment?
I am feeling very, like I said, accomplished and complete. My feelings about this whole thing, and my way of thinking about it, and the language that I use about it has completely shifted. well, I found new language, but mostly my feelings about it shifted to a much more positive tone than what it was. And so I appreciate you walking with me in this.
My pleasure and honor. And thank you also for doing good for everyone. So is this an okay place for us to close our session?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramana. Let me stop our recording.